We have expanded into souls and have created a planet. Now we need to experience that planet. To achieve this, we created a vehicle for the soul to inhabit while living on the planet.
We are souls, and we're here to have experiences. But how can we have an experience if we don't have a body? We're using it. The soul uses it to learn, to experience itself, and also to become enlightened through it.
We are the conscious force that is driving the body. We do not become the body when we step into it. We are just using it to experience the planet. Similar to the way we get into a car to go from one place to another, we do not become the car. We simply use it. We use the body the same way, to have our consciousness sensorially experience one thing after another. Similar to the way we created the planet, we created the body to have a certain experience and react a certain way within that experience. This, of course, also reflects the level of consciousness we create from. When we look at the body today, we see that it requires quite a high level of maintenance.
When you take a look at the body, you can quickly realize how many limitations we've programmed into it. I mean, think about it. If we don't eat, we can die. If we don't sleep, we can get tired and can barely function or operate. We can even manage to get ourselves sick. I mean, all of this just goes to show us how experientially rich we really made this experience.
Let's take a step back for a moment and look at the original state of the body, the way we initially programmed it to be prior to accepting the change to a more challenging experience.
So basically, we've gone through a lot of changes, and the body is not limited to what we're experiencing. Because just to take the point of even sleeping, eating, and some of the functionalities that we've taken into our life, we originally weren't designed, and we didn't design ourselves as the creator, because we created our own experience here and our own playground. But when we did create ourselves, we didn't have the need to eat, and we didn't need to have the need to sleep. And it was really a cycle that we decided to play with. But at some point, some 10,000 or so years ago, we decided to change and alter some of our programs. So we started to instill this thing, the need to eat. Because originally, before, we never designed ourselves that we needed to consume food to survive or to actually be healthy. All the food was designed for, and because we at that time weren't really engaged with all the different layers that we are creating now, we were just basically fruitarians. Meaning that we would consume only fruit, but it was not a necessity for survival or a necessity to feel healthy or anything of that nature. It was more of an opportunity as an experiential realm more than anything else. It wasn't that, if I didn't eat today, that something would happen, my body would complain and so forth. No, it's do I want to have a sensorial experience of enjoying a fruit and allow it to go through the system, and you would feel the energy of that fruit, how it would create itself through the physicality. And the option of sleeping, the sleeping was not required in that point in time because it decided what we wanted to do. Now, because we were going through cycles, and the planet was going through cycles, then we would choose. But, we could sleep 1 hour, we could sleep 10 hours, we could sleep no hours. We wouldn't feel the effects we have now. So we've adapted, we created the program alteration to bring in, all of a sudden, the need to sleep, the need to eat, to create a different level of experience, a more of a survival mode. Now, we've allowed that as our challenge.
The more we look at it, the more we realize that we simply create conditions for the body based on what we choose to experience. Nothing that we accept today as fact about the body has to be the way it is. It is projected as it needs to be and is able to mold to our consciousness as we change it. We may have analytical data that shows the body must be a certain way, but the science that shows this is simply based on the consciousness creating the current state of the body. In other words, the science is limited to one point in time. As things shift, instead of rewriting science, we have simply held on to the archaic understandings. Let's take, for example, someone who practices sun gazing. Sun gazing is the process of using the energy from the sun to feed the body. This form of body nourishment is currently practiced by many people on the planet. The way it works is simple. When you look at what everything we eat fundamentally is, it is all nutrient energy from the sun. We consume the food and get the energy. By sun gazing, you are simply going directly to the source of the energy and taking it into the body. If practiced enough, one is able to stop eating food completely and simply feed in this manner. To the mind, this may sound far-fetched, but this in fact can be achieved. All that is happening is the consciousness driving the body is choosing to step out of the programmed belief that we must be nourished by food. The body then adapts to the new consciousness and becomes fully capable of feeding directly from the source.
What sun gazing shows us is that even within the programmed requirement of an external source of energy, the body is quite capable of altering the way that it feeds. The body does this by adapting the way it operates based on the consciousness that's driving it.
So with sun gazing, the best time of the day to start is the first 45 minutes of the sunrise and the last 45 minutes of the sunset. Now, this is the best time to do it because at this time there's actually no UV rays being emitted by the sun. To start, you want to start first time with 10 seconds. And each day as you progress, you want to do it every day. You'll add on another 10 seconds. So the first day will be 10 seconds, then 20 seconds the next day, and then 30, and then so on, until you reach a point where you're sun gazing for about 44 minutes. Now, 44 minutes will be the cutoff point because at this point, you're going to see radical changes within the body. You're going to feel a lot lighter, you're going to feel a lot more energy, you'll be eating less, and just your vibration, your energy will overall be a lot higher, and your immune system will be top notch. You literally won't get sick at all. I know sun gazing sounds pretty crazy, but there is an Indian man who goes by the name of HRM. Now, he's a world-renowned sun gazer, and I believe since 1995 he hasn't consumed any food other than just boiled water. There's a group of 21 scientists that actually wanted to study him. They wanted to study his daily life. They set out a course of 411 days where they did actually study him daily. He just basically lived his regular life. And they studied his vital signs, how his organs were functioning. At the end of the 411 days, they concluded that all his vital signs were perfectly normal. His body function and mind-body health was absolutely perfectly normal. Now, you can just imagine coming from a scientific mind and what science has told us about how the body works and what it requires. It literally shattered everything they thought they knew about the body. This completely opens the door up for us to understand that the body can utilize other energy sources and that there's actually no limits. I mean, the potential is endless for how we can utilize energy within the physicality.
If we take things even a step further, we can look at the food we consume. What is it made of? The food on the planet is simply a creation, a projection we as Source have created. The food is essentially made of the exact same energy or consciousness that we are. If we are consuming food, which is already what we are, why can't we just use the energy from our bodies already? No external source required.
So when you think about it, what makes us have to eat food if it's all the same energy that we're all made up of? It's because we've programmed ourselves to consume external sources of energy. But we can program ourselves just as easily to not have to.
Once we realize that we are not our bodies, we begin to understand that we are instead a driving force having an experience on the planet. When the body dies, as we call it, we do not die with it. We simply step out and create a new experience in a new body, one that will offer us an entirely new experience.
We come here, it's our vehicle to give us the experience we're choosing to have. Once we're done with it, we step out. There is no tragedy, there is no death. It looks that way at the mind level because we are not in the vehicle any longer. Because what really happens when we step out? It's just the soul decided, I'm done with the trip. So I step out of the trip. I'm done. And we choose another trip. That's all it's about. It's stepping in and stepping out. There is no judgment about it.
When we look at the world today, we can see the disconnection and separation that exists between one another. The divide of countries, the fight for survival, the push to attain greed, power, and control. This is what our world appears to be built off of. What is it that is keeping us so disconnected? Why do we think we are only our bodies and our thoughts? Why are we driven blindly by our emotions? What is driving us on a day-to-day basis? When we think of the word ego, we often associate it with someone that is self-centered and arrogant. Here we are going to refer to the ego as something else. Here, the ego is the program that we operate off of, the piece that drives us on a daily basis and disconnects us from who we truly are.
To add to our experience, what we've allowed to play with also is created what we can call an ego. And the ego is actually a level of mind which basically hosts a series of programs. And it's a very ingenious little program because not only the program, it's actually self-learning. And what it does is basically uses whatever experiences around it and whatever it plays with as your level of experience, what it watches, what it learns from education, it learns from observing others, or what it brings in as our whatever we're watching on television and so forth, or how we relate with. So it takes all this information in and it stores it and it uses it as a form of creating a reality.
Essentially, the ego is the part of us that convinces us that we're nothing more than the bodies that we're in, and that we are the thoughts that we are having. Now, because the fact that this convincing is so well done and that we buy into these thoughts, it becomes so ingrained that it makes it much more difficult to